Hello children. Today we are going to start a new chapter, that is biodiversity and conservation. What is biodiversity? Biodiversity means variation. You can see variation in every level of biological organization. What is biological organization? In the previous chapter, if you remember children, we have studied about biological organization. That is, cell is the smallest unit. Cell aggregates to form tissue. From tissue, organ, organ to organ system to organism, organism to population, population to community, community to ecosystem, ecosystem to biomes, and then biosphere. At every level of organization, you can see diversities. The term biodiversity was popularized by a sociobiologist whose name is Edward Wilson to describe diversity at every level of organization. Basically, biodiversity is divided into three major types. The first one is genetic diversity. What is genetic diversity? In one species, you can see variations. That means, in one species, variation is seen at the genetic level. We'll try to understand this with certain example. First, Mangifera indica, which is the scientific name of mango. It is the scientific name of mango. In this indica species itself, you can see different varieties like Alfonso is there, Ratnagiri is there, Kesari is there, near about 10,000, 1,000 varieties of species you can see in this Mangifera indica itself. Now, we will take another example, that is rice, Oryza sativa. Under this species, you can see different varieties of rice like IR8, Jaya, Ratna, near about 50,000 varieties of rice you can see in Oryza sativa itself. We will take one more example, that is Rauwolfia vomitoria. Rauwolfia vomitoria is a medicinal plant used for the treatment of hypertension. It is found in the Himalayan regions. It is having a certain chemical which is known as reserpine. There are so many varieties of vomitorias are present in the Himalayan region. One variety is differ from other in the potential of this reserpine. Some is having higher potential, some is having less potential. So, what you have seen, in one species itself there is variation. Okay. That variation is due to the change, a slight change in the genetics formed a new variety. Okay. So, that is known as genetic diversity. We will see the next diversity is the species diversity. Species diversity means diversity you can see in the species level. When we take two regions like Western Ghat and Eastern Ghat, in Western Ghat you can see more species of amphibians when you compare it with the Eastern Ghat. Okay. So, number of species is present more in diversity of species is more in one place, one region than in comparison to the other. When we take another third diversity is the ecological diversity. So, here you can see, here we are going to take a large area like India. Okay. In India, you can see varieties of ecosystem like rainforest, tropical rainforest, temperate region, and you can see sea, oceans, so many ecosystem you can see in India. When you compare India with that of Scandinavian country like Norway, Norway is having a few ecosystem. That means ecosystem diversity is less in Norway. Mostly you can see their grassland ecosystem. So, in ecological diversity, diversity is seen in the ecosystem. So, what you have seen in here, in genetic diversity, diversity is seen in one species itself. There is a variation, I mean varieties are found under one species due to the change in the gene, that is known as the genetic diversity. Here in species diversity, number of, that is in particular one region, diversity of species is found when you compare with that of the other region. Ecological diversity, here you can see the diversity of ecosystem. Okay. Now, we will study how many species are there in earth and how many are there in our country India. According to IUCN 2004, IUCN means International Union for Conservation of Nature. More than 1.5 million of plants and animal species were identified, studied and recorded, out of which 70% are animals and 22% are plants. In plants you can see all the algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms. Along with that you can see fungi. The diversity of fungi as well as angiosperm is more when you compare with other plant. Now, among animals, insects richness, that is species richness of insect is more when you compare with other animal. Out of every 10 animal, 7 are insects. Every 10 animals, 7 are insects. So, insects diversity is more. Children, you can see in this earth so many species of plants and animals, but it is not yet studied and recorded. There is a scientist whose name is Robert May. He scientifically studied and estimated near about 7 millions of species diversity. He estimated about 7 million species diversity. There are 12 mega diversity countries are there. There are 12 mega diversity countries. India is one among them. India contribute only 2.4% land area in the world, but the contribution of biodiversity is 8.1%. Its contribution of biodiversity is more. So, that is why India is placed at the 8th position in this 12 mega diversity countries. When you take the examples of our country, in our country near about 45,000 species of plants are there. Plants are identified, studied and recorded. Double the number of animals are also studied, identified and recorded. Still there are many species is there in the our country which is to be identified and recorded. Now we will see the pie chart of biodiversity. Children, this is the pie chart representing the global biodiversity. This pie chart is very important and it will come in your examination. You have to remember this pie chart. How to remember this pie chart? I would like to give you certain tips to remember this pie chart. Now you see here, this is the invertebrates, vertebrates and plants. You'll get the same pie chart in your examination. In order to remember the invertebrates, I would like to give a sentence like Indian oath taken by master and children. So this is the sentence. Now you start from bigger area to smaller area. First you take I, okay, I for insects, okay. Now O for, this is other animals. Children, we are talking about invertebrates. Other animals include, you can see Porifera, Coelenterata, and you can see Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes. These things belongs to other animals. Okay. Now, next is master. You just leave this taken by. Master, M. Okay, M for mollusk. Mollusk. Okay. Now, next is you leave and take C. C for crustaceans. Okay, this is the way to remember this pie chart. Okay, so this is about invertebrate. Next, we'll take vertebrates. Okay, we'll take fast boy Ram. I have written in capital. We'll take the capital letter F. F for fish. We'll start from fishes, larger area, and then we'll go to the smaller area. Next is B. B, this one is the larger area. So here comes birds. And next is R. This is the next larger area, reptiles. And A, this is the next smaller area. That means we are going from larger area towards the smaller area. So this is amphibians. And the smallest one is mammals. M for mammals. Okay. So this is how you can able to remember the pie chart of invertebrates and vertebrates. Now we'll see the plants. You know that in this earth, species richness of fungi as well as angiosperms are more. So you know here we'll write fungi and here angiosperm. What about this area? For that, I'll give you a tip, that is famous lichen. Lichens. Okay, you take A, this is the largest area, algae. Next to this is M, that means smaller than this area is M. So this is that area, mosses. Okay, smaller to this area is this one. Next is F, ferns. So ferns and allies. Okay, and smallest one is L, So that is the lichen. This is the easiest way to remember this pie chart. So for invertebrate, we use Indian oath taken by master and children. Start from the largest area to smallest area. Here also we will take a sentence, fast boy Ram. Starts from the largest area to the smallest area. F for fishes, birds, reptile, amphibians and mammals. Then for plants, we know that fungus and angiosperms are the species richest one. So that covers the more areas. And then comes algae and then mosses, ferns and allies, and the last one is the lichens. Is it clear, children? It is the easiest way to remember this pie chart. Children, the species diversity is not uniform in all part of the earth. Some part is having more species diversity and some part is having less species diversity. Now, what are the factors which determine the pattern of biodiversity? We'll see. The first is latitudinal gradient. What is latitudinal gradient? Before entering into this topic, we will see the latitudes of the earth. Now, you see here, there is an imaginary line that is passing through the center of the earth, that is known as the equator. This is the equator. Okay, and Tropic of Capricorn is another latitude that lies at 23.5 degrees south, and Tropic of Cancer that lies at the 23.5 degree north. And you can see the area between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn is the torrid zone. And this area is known as the temperate zone, that is south temperate zone, and this is the north temperate zone. And this one is the frigid zone, and this region is the north pole, and this is the south pole. Okay. Now, when we see Colombia, we'll take an example of Colombia. It is a country where it is located at the equator region. So, this country has near about 1,400 species of birds. Okay. Now, we'll take another country, New York. New York is located somewhere in the 41 degree north. That means in this region, that means just above this region, in the temperate zone. It is having near about 105 species of birds. Okay, we'll take another example, Greenland. Greenland is located at 71 degree north, just here in the frigid zone. It is having near about 56 species of birds. Now, what about our country? Some part is located at the temperate region and some are located at the tropical region. Okay, so our country is also having, India is also having 1,200 species of birds. Now, you just take the example of Amazonian rainforest, where it is located. It is also located in the tropical region. So, what you have seen in this Amazonian rainforest also, you can see abundant diversity of species. So, what you have seen here, when we move from the equator towards the pole, that means there is a decrease in the species diversity. So, most of the species diversity you can see in the tropical region, and less species diversity you can see in the as we move from equator towards the pole. Okay, what is the reason behind it? So many ecologists made their hypothesis, and few hypotheses is there in your syllabus. First is, we'll see speciation. What is speciation? Speciation means formation of new species. For the formation of new species, millions of undisturbed years are required. Okay, and when we talk about temperate zone, these temperate zones are subjected to frequent glaciation. Okay, that is why there is less formation of less species. It is always disturbed due to glaciation. Next, when we talk about tropical region, tropical regions are undisturbed for millions of years. That is why new species are formed in that region. Next is, second is seasonal variation. Seasonal variation. When we talk about this tropical region is having less seasonal variation and it is constant and predictable. We know what is the next season. Like we in Andaman, we are in the tropical region. Here the temperature or the climate is moderate. When we are talking about the temperate region, there is a fluctuation in the temperature, either extreme cold or extreme hot. Okay, that is the reason why there is less species diversity in comparison to that of the tropical region. Next is ray of sunlight. Ray of sunlight. Now, you see here this region receives the direct radiation rays of sunlight. Since it is receiving the direct radiation of sunlight or ray of sunlight, intensity, that means it is receiving higher intensity of sunlight and their productivity is more, that means more plant species are found in this particular region and that support more herbivores and that support more carnivores. Okay, but when we see this region, temperate zone, these temperate zones are receiving slanting ray of sunlight. They are not receiving the direct sunlight. They are receiving the slanting radiation, ray of sunlight. So, the intensity is less there. So, it produces, the productivity is less. Since the productivity is less, it supports less herbivores and it supports less carnivores. So, this is the reason why in the tropical region more species diversity is seen in comparison to that of the temperate region. So, what are the three reasons? Speciation. For the formation of species, new species, what is required? A constant, undisturbed, millions of years are required for the formation of new species. Second, seasonal variation. Seasonal variation is seen, that is, in the tropical region, there is less seasonal variation, but in the temperate region, there is a great fluctuation in the temperature. Ray of sunlight, this tropic temperate region receives slanting ray of sunlight, so their productivity is less. But here in the tropical region, they are receiving a direct sunlight, so the productivity is higher. Okay, that is the reason the tropical region is having higher species diversity in comparison to that of the temperate region. Next factor is area-species relationship. This area-species relationship was given by Alexander von Humboldt. According to him, when we increases the area, the species richness also increases, but to a certain limit. Now, let me tell you one, we'll take an example here. This is, we are surveying this particular area, say A. It is having 5 species. And again we are increasing this area to B. Again there is an increase of species up to 10. Again we are increasing the area of survey to C. Again the species richness is doubled. When we increased this area to D, what happened? There is an increase, but there is no doubling of species. After certain limit, what happened? The doubling or species richness is limited. Now, up to here we can say species richness is directly proportional to area of survey. Now, when we change this proportionality into equation, S is equal to C A raised to Z. Okay, when we draw this in a, or when we plot this equation in a graph, we'll get in the y-axis we'll take the species richness, yes, and in the x-axis we'll take area. So we'll get a rectangular hyperbola like this. As we increases the area, species richness is increased. After certain limit, it is that is there is a limit. After certain limit, what happened? The number of species richness is reduced. So this is we can call it as S is equal to C A raised to Z. Now, when we take log on both the side, that means log log S is equal to log C plus log Z log A. So, in the y-axis, we are going to take log S, and in the x-axis, we are going to take the log A. Okay. So, when we plot this equation in the graph, you will get a straight line like this. Okay, log scale. So, this is the equation, log S is equal to log C plus Z log A. Now, what is S? S is the species richness. So, what is A? Area. A is the area of survey. Okay. Now, what is C and what is Z? If you remember, children, when you have studied in your mathematics about the equation of a straight line. Now, this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. If you are drawing a straight line, when this line intercepts with this y-axis, this is the C. The region of where the straight line intercept, that is known as the C. So, we can say C is equal to y intercept. Okay. So, what is Z? Z is the slope of the line. So, what is Z? Z is the slope of line. Now, what is the value of Z? When you take the angle here, this is the theta, theta is the value of this Z. Now, when we are taking a country, say New York, here the area is smaller, okay. So, here the value of Z will be 0.1 to 0.2. It ranges from 0.1 to 0.2, okay. But what is the slope of this line? It is less steeper. Now, when we are taking a large continent, say we are taking a large continent for survey, okay. Now, at that time, the slope increases. The slope will be more steeper. Okay, see the steepness of the slope, and the value of Z will be more. Okay, it ranges from 0.6 to 1.2. Okay, so what you have seen, for a smaller area, the slope is less steeper, and when we and the value of Z will be less. And when we are taking a larger area, say a continent, at the time the slope of this line will be more steeper and the value will be more. Is it clear? So, what you have seen, as we increases the area, so species richness also increases. So, after certain limit, there is no increase in the species richness. So, that equation is given as S is equal to C A raised to Z. Now, when we take log on both the side, so you will get log S is equal to log C plus Z log A. So, when we take log S in the y-axis and log A in the x-axis, you will get a straight line. Okay. So, what is S? S is the species richness, A is the area, C is the y-intercept and S is the slope of the line. As when we are taking a small area for survey, the slope will be less steeper and the value of Z will be less. And when we are taking a larger area like a continent, the slope will be more steeper and the value of Z will be more. Is it clear, children? So, what you have studied? We have studied about the pattern of biodiversity and we have studied latitudinal gradient and area species relationship. In the next class, we will see the laws of biodiversity and conservation. Thank you.